Good morning. This is Just Listen, hosted by George Goodman Live Podcast. Welcome to Monday, June the 1st. Yes, we are into June now, and it's exciting because it's starting to warm up consistently. Okay, so on Friday, we talked about the Illinois Legislature, and we also talked about the candidates and also mentioned um, the Attorney General position. So go back and look at that and see what you think about that. Today, though, I want to focus on the Illinois Legislature and what they are doing. As you are aware, maybe not aware, they had to finish up the budget and then the governor has to sign it before the fiscal year runs out. If they don't do that, then no money gets dispersed. All right. So the legislature will be done soon. So here are their priorities: revenue tightening, data center regulation, artificial intelligence safety, and corporate health mergers. All right. So this year we are finalizing the $56 billion state budget. So, and state budget offices lowered revenue projections due to rising unemployment concerns and sluggish sales tax collections. That's kind of hard to believe that the sluggish sales tax collections, how do they collect it? Don't the towns collect it? Okay, limit spending this year is going to be a tightening of the budget for fiscal year 2027. That's how they do it, right? All right. Lawmakers are negotiating how to balance the budget with virtually no room for new spending beyond Governor J.B. Pritzker's conservative proposal. Now, keep in mind what the supermajority Democrats are talking about. So, because of immigration, the state of Illinois lost a lot of revenue from the federal government. And I'll give you an example of that in a second. Because prior to the Trump administration taking over in 2024, the federal government was funding a lot in the state of Illinois based on people being in the country. All right. New revenue streams to offset a structural deficit worsened by federal funding cuts. Remember, that's what they were talking about. They need to be a little bit more specific to why the federal funding shrunk. Democrats are weighing new revenue ideas, including a proposed social media tax and changes to corporate tax deductions. Remember, I told you that they're going after corporations, and it's interesting that this weekend there was an interview with the governor of Florida, and people are flocking to Florida, corporations. Why? Because Florida is fair with how corporations get taxed. And remember something: if you want corporations to stay, you want to give them a reason to stay in the first place. And this is nothing new. When I was 18 and 19, I used to watch the news then too. And the people in charge, even back then, some of them in some of these states want to tax the heck out of corporations. That doesn't work. They move. They move to states where they are at least treated fairly. Look at California and New York. How many people have just gotten out of those states? Okay. SNAP funding gaps. Lawmakers are facing massive local pressure to pass emergency funds to provide gap benefits for roughly 240,000 residents facing food insecurity due to federal policy changes. That's an example of what I'm talking about. Who are the 240,000 residents? See, they don't tell you that because they don't want you to know who they're talking about. So, if you really want to know, go and Google it. Who are the 240,000 people that they're talking about? That's fair. And that's not taking any side on it. And again, those budgets were extremely huge 2 or 3 years ago, prior to November of 2024. All right. Regulating data centers, the Power Act. Environmental advocates and local communities are placing immense pressure on the General Assembly to pass. The bill targets a massive influx of hyperscale data centers in Illinois. It would mandate strict disclosure regarding data centers' extreme water consumption and energy usage, require environmental impact assessments, and ban non disclosure agreements during local negotiations. Okay, we have to save the environment. As I told you a long time ago, they used to call them server rooms. And if you really want to debate this issue, you have to bring in people in IT. People have gotten confused between using the artificial intelligence at the data center. Data centers are throughout the world. They're not just in the US, and they're all not used for artificial intelligence as well. They house companies' applications that they use to do business. And you have to look at how much money towns, cities, states can bring in from it. So the environmental part is important because they're going to use a lot of water and electricity. What's been happening is somehow in some of these cities and towns, and even the state, they've been trying to pivot it to making people pay more for their consumption when in fact the power companies need to expand their capability through infrastructure. And in Illinois, several years ago, they passed it. That's why the utility rates went up. And now they are attacking it again for some reason. And remember, also, regulations mean that the data centers have more operating costs. Who do you think that they're going to pass that on to? They're going to pass it on to companies, and the companies using the applications, they have to make money. So some kind of cost with the application will go up too. It's a domino effect. We need to have people sticking to the facts and not making the taxpayers have the brunt of their disagreements. Okay. All right. Artificial intelligence and consumer protections. The package targets identity theft, privacy risk, harmful automated chatbot interactions, and the algorithmic price gouging. Yes. Now, that one is very important, and I hope that they pass it. All right. But it's stalled. High profile tech measures like the Biometric Surveillance Act, which aim to completely ban law enforcement from using facial recognition tools, have officially stalled for the session due to the pushback over public safety trade offs. You see how the state government works here? Now, someone in the legislature put that in there to ban law enforcement from using facial recognition tools. The why? The other part of this legislation was good because it helped consumers. Package targets, identify theft, privacy risk, harmful automated chatbot interactions, algorithmic price gouging. That's important. So we, the people in Illinois, need to look at who we are electing, and we need to monitor what they're doing. Who put that into the bill? The Biometric Surveillance Act, to ban law enforcement from using facial recognition tools? Okay, so we elected them. We need to scrutinize them a little bit more. So, healthcare and insurance reform, I talked about that. Uh, they want to crack down on soaring homeowners insurance rate hikes. Well, I know for a fact that the insurance companies lobby the legislature. How do I know that? Because several years ago, they put me in a flood zone. And what they said was, I have to contact the insurance company if I opt out of it. That was based on a law passed in Illinois that said that everyone had to have flood insurance unless they say otherwise, meaning the person calls them up. In my case, that was $200 every 6 months more than I was willing to pay. So that's why when these laws are out there being passed, we need to see the impact on us as consumers, because the legislature thought that was a good idea. Maybe somebody didn't have flood insurance. They should have had it, and they didn't have their house, whatever it was, covered. So I get that. But if you put this kind of law out there, please let people in the state know that all they have to do is come and say, yep, I'm not in a flood zone, so I assume the risk. All right. So that's where we're at today. And as you know, to kind of end the subject again, the Chicago Bears is looking like that they're going to be 12 to 15 miles away from Chicago. So that's where we're at, because any money that was going to go from the state got tabled. It's not even on their radar. So we elected these people to the legislature, so they're doing what they were voted in to do, because we're not paying attention to what they're doing. This is Just Listen Live, hosted by George Goodman. Have a great day. Have a great week. And we will see you on Friday to report what's going on now in the state of Illinois, and specifically in the Metro East. Have a great day.